Welcome, foolish mortals, to my review of Disney's Haunted Mansion. I am your host, your ghost host. Kindly step in and make room for everybody. Your cadaverous pallor betrays an aura of foreboding, almost as though you sense a disquieting metamorphosis. Is this haunted studio actually stretching, or is it your imagination? Consider this dismaying observation. This YouTube video has no windows and no doors, which offers you this chilling challenge to find a way out. Of course, there's always my way. You could watch this video to the very end to find out if this video game based on the classic Disney theme park ride is a worthy endeavour for your Halloween gaming session.
Disney's Haunted Mansion ride is probably one of my favourite Disney attractions. When I go to Disney World, I probably go on it at least twice every day of the Magic Kingdom, and I find that its slow pace is perfect for someone like me who hates rides that are too fast or too high. Its thrills are entirely based around the simple practical and optical effects that are used to trick your senses into believing that ghostly things are happening, from the busts that appear to be looking at you no matter where you are, to the ballroom dancing ghosts that appear in front of your very eyes. It's a real feat of ride design, and every aspect from its queue to its exit immerses you into this chilling atmospheric ride, meeting the 999 happy haunts that inhabit the mansion along the way. And in 2003, the same year that Pirates of the Caribbean made the jump from Disney attraction to movie, so did the Haunted Mansion. And although this Eddie Murphy starring flick failed to catch the imagination of moviegoers, it did sort of spawn this very game soon after, thankfully based more on the ride than the movie itself. Here we have an action puzzle game, almost like a Resident Evil Lite, although I'd say that despite the family friendly license, it's not totally aimed at kids either. It's the late 19th century and our hero Zeke takes a job at the Haunted Mansion as its caretaker, completely unaware of the battle taking place within that threatens to harm both the afterlife and the land of the living. With the help of the spirit of Madame Leota and the other ghostly residents of the mansion, the entire game's aim is to clear the more malevolent spirits from each of the building's 27 rooms, switching on the lights in each one and retrieving the 999 souls that are trapped in the mortal world. These rooms are locked, requiring the collection of a certain number of souls before it can be opened. Most rooms have their own unique puzzle to solve, and these are the meat and veg of Haunted Mansion's gameplay. And while most of these challenges aren't terribly taxing on the brain, there are some pretty clever and fun teasers that rely on both your skill and your smarts. One room might shrink you down to size on a pool table and expect you to dodge the cue ball while tricking the phantom player into potting the regular balls. In a task inspired by the Haunted Mansion ride itself, you'll even need to track down the haunted singing busts for a good old sing-song, only talking to those with actual singing talent and avoiding those who are unwilling or completely out of tune. While in some rooms it might not be too clear what is required, by pressing any direction on the D-pad you can call on Madame Leota, who will share a somewhat cryptic riddle that acts as a hint to help you figure out what to do next. Things are most definitely made much more hazardous by the arrival and subsequent attacks from evil spirits and beasts, but thankfully you carry the Soul Beacon, a lantern which fires blasts of light that can remove these negative forces from existence. Eventually you'll unlock different types of shots, including charge shots which are supposed to help against the tougher enemies out there. However, I find it much more effective to just rapidly fire at enemies with a standard shot. There are quite a few situations where you're swarmed by about 10 or more enemies in quick succession, which feels quite unfair at times, and this is where the majority of the challenge and possibly frustration lies. Alongside a save system activated via grandfather clocks throughout the mansion, you have an energy bar, as well as finite lives, of which more can be earned by finding 10 fortune teller cards. This game is thankfully quite generous with the cards, so it's possible to get quite a few extra lives, and despite the game's considerable difficulty on normal, although I did lose a lot of lives at times, I never really got game over even once. To be honest, saving the game after cleaning each room is definitely the way to go. And as you get deeper through the mansion, tougher enemies appear, more of them ambush you, and even the puzzles themselves become more dangerous. It's a tougher game than you would expect, but thankfully not impossible. Finding all 999 happy haunts isn't a terribly difficult thing to do, as each room gives you a counter on how many are remaining, and you find them by activating pulsing objects, while you can count the truly difficult puzzles on one hand, and even then I don't think I've ever spent more than 15 minutes being stuck. For games like this, it's usual for cameras and controls to let you down, and thankfully I found few problems with either of these for the most part. I occasionally had issues with changing targets using the camera lock-on, but otherwise everything was fine. If you've ever been on the ride, you'll be pleasantly surprised at how well the themes and atmosphere are translated from ride to game. This digital mansion feels like familiar territory, and ride fans will easily pick out elements such as recognisable pictures on the walls, eerie busts that follow you as you walk by, floating candlesticks and certain happy haunts, including those infamous hitchhiking ghosts amongst other things. There's a little voice acting here, nothing too outstanding, but it all works as intended. I would have loved the game to utilise some of the musical tracks from the ride, and it doesn't really do that until the credits, but it's no big deal as enough is done to evoke the feeling of that classic Disney attraction. Despite a few borderline unfair difficulty spikes, this isn't a terribly long game, and you'll reach the end in about 8 hours or so, which is just enough time to not overstay its welcome. You might tear your hair out during some moments, but it's an enjoyable puzzle/action game overall. A fun embellishment on one of the greatest theme park rides ever, with clever puzzles and some very fun moments. Throwing rows of enemies at the player at once does not make for an interesting challenge or a fun game. In some ways this is missing the enjoyable hijinks that made the original ride so fun. While it pales in comparison to the Resident Evils and Luigi's Mansions of this world, Haunted Mansion is surprisingly fun, full of creative moments, and if you're looking for something a little bit different this Halloween, you could do a lot worse, as long as you can see past some of the more frustrating aspects of its design.
Ah, there you are, and just in time, because there's a little matter that I forgot to mention. Beware of hitchhiking YouTube commenters. I will be back soon with another truly horrifying video, but for now I will allow you to click the subscribe button below. Don't forget to ring the bell so a ghost will notify you whenever I release a new video.
Hurry back, hurry back. Be sure to bring your death certificate if you decide to join us. Make final arrangements now. We've been dying to have you.